Hi there, welcome to Outdoor Gear Chat. We're talking about hats today, the importance of protection for your head. I'm joined as always by Cathy. Hiya.
Hi, Wayne. I'm Cathy, and I am the co-owner and director of the Climber Shop in Ambleside and the Joe Brown Shops in North Wales.
You just flustered because I turned up to start recording with the balaclava on,
I
didn't
did,
you?
I did. You
That's what.
totally threw me. I'm like, I can't see you, Wayne. I can't see you on the Zoom picture. Where are you? And you you put it on, and literally, I thought I was being faced with some kind of urban modern chemical warfare guy on the tube doing weird dancey kind of moves. It was
It
quite
is.
something to behold.
It's a bit terrifying, isn't it? Yeah, there was that with my headphones, and then the what I like to call the Beau Geste hat
Oh, the Beau
with
Geste hat.
the
It was the half face balaclava, the Beau Geste hat
yeah,
over the top, and then the
and
earphones
and
over
the
the top of
earphones.
that.
Brilliant. So that's giving away a couple of the examples of the head protection that I use or have used. But yeah, it looks like yeah that needs a bit of a wash. Yeah, anyway, that will come.
We'll come back to the
Moving
stories
rapidly on.
involved in
Yeah, yeah.
that. Yeah.
So I guess yeah, what kind of head protection do I use? I was yeah just thinking about this before when you sent through the information on today's recording, and I was actually I've probably got six or seven different pieces of headgear actually, different adornments for my head, and I guess we're not really talking about head protection per se, like hard hats or climbers protection
No, we're going
necessarily.
to steer away from PPE because if
That's
you
the one,
type
yeah.
in head protection into Google, you get tons and tons of PPE, which was quite a relief actually because I realised after I hit enter, I might get all sorts coming up in that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Google
exactly. Yeah.
search. But it was all PPE. But no, we're not talking about PPE. This is episode 29, hats, the humble hat indeed, and we're going to talk about that probably larger than you actually think collection until you get to look at it of lovely, warm, cozy things you can put on your head. Now, it could be a hat, it could be what's the word that go around your ears? Earband.
Ear
That's the
warmer.
word.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was
Earband.
thinking ear warmers. I was thinking, but
It could be ear
oh
warmers.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many of those, but yeah, ear bands. It could be buffs, or that's obviously become the generic name, hasn't it? Neck
Mm.
gaiter, balaclava. It could be a sun hat, could be a waterproof hat, could be a bug bucket, and we can touch on that later.
Yeah, that's a new one on me.
But your hat is a really key piece of kit. Whatever activity you're doing, outdoor activity you're doing, your hat is there to keep your brain warm. It's quite an important function, really, when you think
Mm,
about
yeah,
it, isn't it?
well, definitely, yeah. Also, and well, and a couple of bits that you never mentioned there, which I was interested to see in the email that you sent through about this, was technical hijabs and niqabs as well
Yes.
that you've got coming in store. But yeah, and yeah, you said you've got what is it over 200
Yeah,
different
I
types
looked.
of
I thought I'll
headgear.
just have a look. I looked on our website. Now, to be fair, because on our website we have to show each color choice as an individual item. Otherwise, the algorithms at those huge companies that run these things don't pick up the items. So we have just shy of 200 units of head accoutrements on our website that we sell. So literally a hat for every single eventuality that you could think of. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, and in I think you and I have got a sort of a shared past way back when, as far as headgear goes, as far as being cadets and wearing, and actually now working in the outdoors and doing stuff in the outdoors, I realise how important those are, aren't they? Yeah, a beret essentially when you're in the forces serves a hell of a lot of purposes, doesn't it? As far as keeping your head warm, keeping your head dry, keeping your body warm, providing some protection from the sun, UV, all sorts of different bits and pieces.
Oh yeah, I think we probably all stood there on parade with the sun beating down, just melting, and very pleased we got something on our heads. But actually, just going back in history again, we do have additional history talking about hats. When we did back in the day your podcast for the enthusiasts, talking about hats, and the identity that comes with your hat. About what you're doing, and the bobble hat, of course, or the beanie in particular. If you're a boulderer, I believe you have to wear a beanie 24/7. I don't think you can actually ever take one off. It is such an important part of the boulderer's repertoire, that and the warm insulated jacket. It's absolutely part of your being.
Yeah, and bobble hats. I've heard the bobble was a bit of like head protection, so it was designed, and I don't know whether this is true or not, urban myth, but it was designed so you've got a bobble on the top of your head, and if anything hits the top of your head, there's a bit of impact protection.
Oh, I like that.
No, yeah, no, well, exactly. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. And probably on reflection heard it from a dubious source now. But I was quite happy, and similar to bowler hats, because that's what they were for back in the day. Supposedly was to stop stuff when it was dropped on people's heads in the shipyards. And that's again. Anyway, so yeah. Should we roll it back and start talk some facts rather than those wittering or me wittering anecdotes? So woolly hats. Should we start with woolly hats? What?
Yeah, woolly hats. We actually sell. Our Joe Brown shops have been selling a traditional woolen balaclava with a little coloured peak for absolutely years, and they've been a staple right from Joe's first expeditions all the way through, and they've evolved, and you're about to show me, aren't you?
I was going to put it back on, but I can't get it over the headphones now. This is one of my favorite pieces of kit. I am.
What, black neoprene, Wayne? You're holding
exactly. No, no, this one is not. This is. I got this a few years ago from the lovely people at Montaigne. It's a punk balaclava. This was turned by Montaigne, and I got it when I did the Spine Challenger. Absolutely immense. Love it, but it is warm. I was just looking at one of the. What does it say? It's got it's Polartec fleecy with a little cap, with a little fleece cap, little sort of mesh mouthpiece and stuff. Comes up really up over the nose, like tiny slit for your eyes. Absolutely fantastic piece of kit. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that is going to include some of the magic fabric that is Power Stretch, Polartec Power Stretch. So it's super fleecy on the inside. It's just that smooth fabric on the outside. It's amazing. It doesn't pill. I don't know how they've created a fabric that doesn't pill. It's amazing. But it's got 4-way stretch, so that will fit beautifully. It's easy to put on over your head. Because it's so stretchy, but then it will cling down and cover your neck, so it'll just keep all that lovely warm air that your body's worked so hard to warm up around your neck and the back of your neck in particular, where you feel the cold, and around your face. And that mesh across just means that you can breathe more readily through that fabric as well. Interestingly, back before the sort of development of UV protective sun creams, face masks were used a lot, just literally a piece of cotton with some eyes cut out and a mouth cut out. And a lot of alpinists and travelers used those just to keep the sun off of their skin, so they didn't get absolutely fried and lose all of their skin, particularly at altitude.
Yeah, well, that's dead interesting. I've never sort of properly cottoned on to the old footage of like Everest expeditions, for example, where they were doing that, or the like there was a piece of leather covering the nose underneath the goggles, wasn't there? That was another favourite from back in the day. But you said, sorry, I interrupted you. You saying you've got like a knitted version of the balaclava in Joe Brown.
Oh yeah. Well, if you're in extreme cold, snowy conditions where it's not going to rain, wool is always one of the best insulators. And of course, traditionally in the old Arctic and Antarctic expeditions, they used silk as a baseliner with wool over the top. Right. And Mallory and Irving actually used those on their sort of early Everest expeditions in the 20s and 30s as well. So that gave you an absolutely superb layering system, and to keep all that lovely warmth around your head, because back in the day, again, hoods didn't really exist. They were just a piece of fabric that kind of covered your head. They didn't have any of the beautiful sculpting that you see these days on garments. So having a hat was the only way to keep your head warm. So
I see that's an interesting point, because it does my head in wearing a full hood
yeah,
on my jacket, and that,
yeah,
then you get that balance of rain, for example, going down the back, or
yeah.
going down that great big hole, essentially. So I guess some of the other stuff we'll talk about can help that, but I'd much rather wear just head protection than have a hood on. So I've also got like a wind stopper. It was that brand. It's like it is made up like a net gaiter, but it's also got like a elasticated top, so you can sort of almost tie it at the top and have it like a hat as well. So that for that. So, and I guess the point of, you've mentioned a couple of times now, the point of, whilst we've mentioned sun protection, the point of it is to keep warmth in, isn't it? To keep that body heat in.
Yeah.
So is it? I always have this stat of about like 80% of our body heat escapes from our head. Again, I don't know whether that's true.
I thought, right, this would be a perfect stat to talk about on this. And I was just having a look through before we sort of recorded, and I couldn't find like a hard and fast scientific fact. So I'm going to fall back and say there's an awful lot of heat that you lose through your head. But of course, it depends. Yeah. If you are dry, you're going to lose less heat than if you've got wet hair. When you lose heat horrendously fast. I know from all the outdoor swimming that you do, you must find that definitely. And I'm sure the first thing you do once you come out is whip off your swim cap and put a warm hat on, just to help you with your recovery and warming up quickly. And that can be a really key thing if you've got somebody who's suffering from hypothermia. One of the first things you can do to help, if the situation allows it, is to sort of get their hair dry if it's wet, and get something on their head straight away, because that is going to keep the majority of heat within their body, which is what you want to do, and get them warming back up safely. But I think with whether it's a hairband, certainly sometimes if I'm running, I prefer to use just something around my ears, because if it's cold, your ears just feel like they're going to freeze and fall off. Same on a bike. But you don't necessarily want something over the top of your head. So an earband comes into its own, and you can get the windstopper ones. Gore windstopper, I think they called it Infinium for a while. I think they might be going back to windstopper now, and that can work an absolute treat if you're out in high winds at just protecting your ears, keeping all of that noise from around your ears, definitely. And I think it gives you the opportunity, if you're doing a high active sport like running as well, you can just let that heat dissipate out the top of the head. But again, if you slip, or if you stop, or if you're just grabbing some food, the first thing you need to do is maintain that heat. And the fastest way of doing that is putting a hat on. And I'll often stick one on actually during relaxation at the end of yoga, so I don't chill down too much. And I'm normally the only one there with a bobble hat on, but works for me.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's what matters, doesn't it? Yeah. And I guess within what you've just said there comes that the multi-versatility of the neck gaiter. I really struggle with using that language, but yeah, you just want to go with a buff, because everyone says that, isn't it? I know there's other brands that are making inroads into that, but it can be round your ears, it can be over your head, it can be covering your face. I know I often use them mixed up with winter weather, just to cover my mouth, just to get a bit of warmer air behind there, so I can breathe properly when I'm running. Oh yeah, like I said, you're wearing a scarf now. It's like scarf action, isn't it? It's keeping your neck warm and keeping some of that heat that's escaping from your body, which is a brilliant thing for just a piece of fabric that goes over your head, essentially, isn't it?
I know, it's an astonishingly versatile bit of kit, and it does keep in an astonishing amount of heat as well, just tucked around your neck at the top of your jacket. It stops all that heat getting squeezed out, pardon me, when you move. And conversely, back if we've been traveling in hot countries, we don't necessarily want the restriction of a buff. Often we just go and buy a meter of cotton fabric from a shop, and use that in the same way. So it's just a square, but you can tie it around your head, You can use it around your neck. You can use it around your face as well. You can use it for mopping sweat. You can use it for drying if you go for a swim in a river. And that piece of fabric, for the small amount of money that it cost, is incredibly useful. But the interesting you were saying about the buffs, there are other brands available. We actually stock a brand called Giraffe, which doesn't readily trip off the tongue either. However, it is a British company. They specialize in making neck gaiters. The difference with their product is that it is made, or the ones that we stock are made entirely from recycled fishing line. So it's very green. It's got a very green footprint. And we've got branded ones, and we've got ones that we stock within the shop, and much like Buff as well, they make ones with merino wool. So there's a big broad choice to choose from. So yes, there's the wondrous original Buff, which has been doing great work for years. But yeah, if you want to support a British company, then there are other options out there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it is good to hear, and yeah, in a lot of respects that's around. So yeah, that's a bit multi-function headwear. I just want to switch back onto the summer related stuff as well now. I know we'll hop around a bit just because I've got a load of notes, and that's what. but yeah, so my summer headwear, I've got an amazing. I think I might have got it from your shop a lot of years ago, but a Berghaus one with a sort of a floppy brim.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was, but anyway, but yeah, it's like I don't know, almost like a cowboy hat. I don't know how else to describe it really, but yeah, the sides can pin up or flap down and so on, and I absolutely love that in the summer. It gives there's loads of protection for my head, for my face, then in the sunshine, and then there's all sorts of variations along the theme from. Like trucker caps have become even ridiculously fashionable recently, particularly I guess with bikers, but in all sorts of different ways. But that and baseball caps as well, I guess.
Yeah, well, the baseball caps, again, it's something that we sell quite a number of, purely for sort of sun visor. They work very well at keeping the sun out. But I actually use a waterproof one all year round for when I'm running, because my running jacket hood, it is stiffened, but it doesn't always give me the amount of protection that I want if I'm out in really gnarly sort of driving wind. So I'll often use a waterproof baseball cap underneath my hood, and that just gives me just that little bit more. If it's stinging hail, you can just sort of beat down into it and crack on. And it's often sometimes I find it easy to have my head torch if I'm running at night as well in the rain on top of a baseball cap, so you've got that kind of structure. If you've got it just over a hood, everything ends up getting squished and water goes down your face, and it all gets very miserable. But that can work very well. The broad-brimmed hat, circular broad-brimmed hat, for want of a technical term, that you just described, comes into its own for sun protection. It really does, because you've got the back of your neck, which is obviously key. Anybody who's had sunburn to the back of the neck and felt ill as a result will know that that's an area to be protected if you've got short hair. So the wide brimmed one, perhaps not that practical for running out in the trails, but ideal if you're backpacking, if you're walking and canoeing, because all the light from the sun gets sort of splashed back up at you as well. And it works a treat. A company called Outdoor Research actually make a waterproof version with a toggle as well. So if you're walking in a rainy country, if you're in a jungle environment, rainforest environment, or paddling again, it just gives you that extra element of protection and keeps you nice and dry as well.
One thing that I was just thinking of, it was as far as having a peak on a baseball cap and stuff as well. Is people wearing glasses? I guess is that extra a little bit of extra protection as far as if you're out in the rain and so on, and then and having those. I'm going to come back to this bit as well. You can't see it very well because of the blurring of my background there, but this is like the neck protection that rolls up actually into the hat on this one.
Your Beau Geste hat.
Which I found. I was like at first when I got it, this is absolutely ridiculous. and it's going to get really hot and all the rest of it. But absolutely essential was there's a piece of fabric that sort of tucks up into the back of the hat. It's a small peak on the front of this one, but yeah, here's the Beaugest one. That's it. That's a really niche reference for many of our listeners, I guess, isn't it? But a lot won't understand that. But it's like a sort of French Foreign Legion style. This piece of fabric that goes down and actually can sort of tuck under a t-shirt or whatever you're wearing. But mine was just, I just always had it flapping around. It offered loads of protection down the back from the sun, and there was a bit of cooling effect because in any wind that was around. And I guess that there's a lot of this which is the Western world replicating this, like the shamag, I guess, which is to that piece of material, that headwear that's used in the desert, isn't it? And in particular the desert environment, I suppose, to the multifunctional piece of fabric that people just whack on their head and have it for all sorts of purposes. I'm going to take that off now because it's really hot. But it was that, like you were saying, that bit of neck protection and stuff is really essential. That when you got it beating down on the back of your head all day long.
Yeah, if you're in a desert environment, or you're in a high rocky environment, glacial environment, it can just be relentless, can't it? And every little helps. But I mean, that was key what you just said. If you're traveling to a country further afield and there's a traditional method of sun protection or head protection there that is widely used, don't remake the wheel.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of people ended up using it because it works.
So what's your favorite piece then? Have you got a favorite piece of headgear that you always wear? So I was just while you were talking, I just googled your recent running pictures, and you've got a variety of different headgear on display there. But have you got a favorite go-to hat?
I do. I have very sadly, I've got a selection of beanies, and I have my walking beanie. I've got my summer running beanie. I've got my winter running beanie. I've got my kayaking beanie.
Well, all different ones. Yeah, they're all different.
I know. And then every now and again I do. I sort of, oh no, I've done like this month. I'm running every day this month, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to change my hat because this is getting a bit monotonous, really. But a lot of the lightweight beanies that I've got a lovely fleecy band around the ears inside that you can't see, but they're just a really lightweight knit. So they'll scrunch down into a running pack or into a pocket easily enough. You can, and I've got my walking hat is altogether much thicker, and I've had that still going strong. It's been washed and washed and washed, but it's that's about 20 years old. I can't get rid of that. That's my go-to flower hat, that one.
I see. I had a woolen one and I absolutely loved it, and it just ended up stinking. So I washed it and it shrank, and I was absolutely gutted. I need to find another one. It's always a risk. It was. And I think it might have got too close to a radiator. I'll leave it that as well. But I think my favourite actually is the one that we acquired through the Trail 60. The
Rad signature beanie, the one that we flooded Ambleside with across the weekend.
Well, indeed, and you see all over the place in various different guises. Yeah, I've seen a lot down in North Wales over this summer actually of the same one. But that's my favourite at the moment. Despite it got burnt on a radiator somehow. I don't know how I managed to do that, but it's got a strip where it just.
It's got a story to it now.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And then I think it's just those that survive a bit longer, isn't it, than the other ones? I have had so many that have shrunk. I did have a Montaigne one which ended up getting shrunk, and was my daughter, who was 3 at the time, ended up wearing it because it had gone down to that size. Yeah.
Just going back to the power stretch balaclava that you've got. I've got a power stretch. It's like a skull cap. I mean, I don't wear it on its own because I look like some kind of weird person from an ancient religious order, but it's just the power stretch. It just goes over your head and underneath a ski helmet or underneath a climbing helmet. That makes a huge difference. And you haven't got the bulk of a beanie. It just sits beautifully. That works very, very, very well. And is super comfy as well. And again, it's tiny small, so you can just whack it in a pocket when you don't need it. I think that'd be probably too heavy to use on a cycle helmet. but you want something a bit more like just a tiny sort of cloth to go under a cycle helmet, really. Right. But it's ears when you're cycling, isn't it? My ears, God, this time of year.
I think I try not to cycle at the best of times, so you know, I have a couple of friends. One in particular who's trying to persuade me to do turbo training as far to help me swimming at the moment, and I have set the turbo up, and I have been on once for 15 minutes in the garage, and it's not a fan at all. It's
crushing. So, it's psychologically crushing the turbo trainer. Well, you need a podcast to listen to, Wayne.
Well, I know I have been listening. I should listen to us, shouldn't I? No, that's a bit weird, that, I think, isn't it? I've been listening to Infinite Monkey Cage with
brilliant
Brian Cox. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant, and it's not necessarily working. I know we're going way off subject, but I've got some of the Shocks headphones now, and I'm using them for swimming in the pool at the moment, and it doesn't always work because you've got to have your phone and via Bluetooth and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's helping me get the pool stuff. More on that in a short time, I guess. Like we've got an upcoming podcast about the swim coming. But I was just checking the notes and of stuff to discuss, and I went quiet, and my face I might have grimaced a little bit. But how do you protect your head from infestations was one of the questions.
Yes. Well, we all know if you're traveling in foreign climates, there's the mosquito, isn't there? And you want to keep those away from your head. But then there's the next level bug, which is the Scottish midge. English midges are pretty bad. Welsh midges, really nasty. The Scottish midge is just on another level, isn't it? Oh, my word. So how do you keep those away from you if you're out and you're on a route and you've got to a belay ledge and you're just out of the wind and the little beasties come at you in droves? And that's where things like the bug bucket come in. And that's a hat that is a broad rimmed hat. And it has a perfect curtain of mesh that comes down with a draw cord, and you can just pull that draw cord in around the top of your body. So even we've we've been to Neudarp. We got to Neudarp, and we got to this particular location, put up the tent, and took the tent back down and went straight in the bothy because they were just savage, absolutely savage. And if we'd had one of these hats, well, I think we probably still wouldn't have stayed in the tent, but it just would have meant that we weren't swearing at each other. And actually, funnily enough, there was another couple there. This lady, she was driven to distraction. I've never seen anybody go quite as loopy. She was really, really traumatized. And your bug bucket. I always think, if you just, like the ice cream sellers in the cinema, if you just had one of those little trays and you just wait until the wind drops and you go and take a walk around a Scottish campsite, you could probably charge like 50 quid.
Just selling those meshes.
Just give me one, take my card.
Just I'll give you whatever. Well, it is though, it just drives you to distraction, doesn't it? Is that the crawling, biting feeling? It's just unreal, And was it any better in the bothy then? Was it than it was outside?
It was. It was significantly better in the bothy. I mean, they were still around, the little bleeders, but made all the more bearable by seeing inches of skeletal dead brethren in the windows. There was just you can just wipe it off. There were so many dead ones in the windows.
Oh god,
but it was. We didn't have a fire, but it was manageable in the bothy.
Yeah,
sure.
I always find that dead interesting that they don't make it inside in quite as great numbers. But anyway, that's there's all sorts of reasons.
We lived in the Yorkshire Dales, and I made the mistake on one evening leaving the kitchen light on and the window open. And I came into the kitchen and the ceiling was just heaving. So I did actually vacuum my ceiling to get rid of them all because it was the only way.
Brilliant.
So that wine or anything.
There's all sorts of tales around that, isn't it? Isn't it? That's thrown
I
me
know that's
now.
a vision you can't unsee.
I know
Sorry. Yeah.
I did have a question then, and I've just lost it. I'm trying to be good about writing questions down so I remember what it was. Um, when is hat color important? I think
Oh,
we are probably running out of time, but it's
yeah. Well, hat
yeah, we're
color. I mean, you don't. Yeah, it's vital, isn't it? We have mirrors all over our hat displays for people to look at because you don't buy one without looking at yourself in the mirror. The color can play a huge part in how good you feel in your hat. But as you well know, your Beau Geste hat that you were playing with earlier, that was sorry, modeling, not playing with,
modeling. Yeah,
modeling.
yeah,
I assume you used that when you ran the Marathon des Sables
yeah.
in
So,
the Sahara, and it's a
yeah,
light color, isn't it?
yeah,
You
yeah.
probably wouldn't find that product made in black because it would make sense to have that as a lighter color. Now I notice it is a very
Oh,
sandy color.
yeah. Well, interestingly though,
Mm,
we had this conversation loads when we were over there.
yeah.
All of the Berbers who were putting the tents up and taking them down and stuff, all of them head to toe in black.
Ah,
And so yeah, we were all like, "What's that all about then?" So that yeah, like you said, the you look to the indigenous population, see what they're
yeah,
wearing, and they were all, like without exception, all dressed top to toe in black with black, black headgear, head covering, long black robes on, and so on. And we were all dressed in white or like sandy colours, like you say,
yeah.
for that for those reflective properties, as we thought. But
Mm.
yeah, I never fully got to the bottom of that. But yeah,
No,
yeah,
this is triggering an ancient memory. And I did speak to somebody about this. And I think there is a reason that there has been research done, and there is a reason why
mm,
black has become a chosen colour. I can't bring that to the forefront of my memory at the moment, embarrassingly. However, another key element of the dress is the volume and the amount of
yeah.
air, and
The
that air
layers.
circulation, and it's cotton based.
Mm.
That just that sheer convection of air going through has a cooling effect. So that very definitely has an important part to play as well.
I know we're going to get some feedback on that, and we'd love that. We'd love that, particularly from you clothing geeks that listen in, because we know you are out there. Because every now and then someone pops up. But please, if you have got a better insight than us two wittering away about
Yeah.
then please do give it. But it's just fascinating getting that feedback from time to time, isn't it? That we do get from people, particularly in industry, but just
Yeah.
generally people who've got a sort of a technical affinity that
Definitely.
operate in the outdoors. It is dead interesting. Yeah, to dispel that myth or not. I did Google just then while you were talking as well the percentage of head heat lost through the head. There's a load of hits that come up just going, it's a myth, it's a myth, it's a myth, it's a myth.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, it's not 80%, but it's
No, it
yeah.
is.
Anyway,
It's a huge amount, and as I say, I think the key is whether your head is dry or wet, and that makes
yeah.
a very very big
I
difference.
guess there's just that whole heat rises thing, isn't it? So even if you've got, if you have got waterproof on and so on, then but the a neck hole, it's just going to come out of the top, isn't it? It is, so it'll be lost that way. It's not going to go down, is it?
No,
Because
and
heat
also if
doesn't
you think
sink in.
about with your head, obviously your brain is the key part, and it is all about keeping your brain warm and keeping you alive. So there must be a huge amount of blood being pumped around your head relatively
Yeah,
to the other parts of your body and
yeah,
extremities in particular. So that must be all part and parcel of it. Anyway, yeah,
yeah. I was watching a fascinating documentary last night on Netflix about a father and son who went paddling in the Yukon. They're just in a Canadian canoe, and there was one particular day where it just chucked it down, and they got in a bit of trouble or borderline trouble because they got so wet and cold, and they did a good job of explaining the importance of looking after yourself in those conditions actually. Um, we're just about running
yeah,
out of time now, aren't we?
I
But
think so.
I think that's covered everything that I wanted to shoehorn in, from my Beau Geste hat to my balaclava to my wide brimmed Berghaus and so on. So
Yeah, the I suppose the last thing is favorite hat actually, because I didn't say favorite hat, which I don't get to
yeah.
wear very often, but I am excitingly going to get to wear later on this year, going away on an
Is it
expedition.
to a wedding?
No.
It's my fascinator.
Oh yeah, it's my secret collection of fascinators. Yeah, you know me well, Wayne. You know me well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so laughable. It's untrue.
Yeah.
No, it's my low alpine mountain cap, which was an iconic piece of headgear that was around and about in the 90s and then vanished. But it has come back. So that is a beautifully like Polartec fleece on the inside, or fleecy on the inside, and a waterproof outer. It's really sculpted. It's got well, I hope actually the new one, I haven't checked this, has got a hole for your ponytail, because that's always very important for me. Hats have to fit around my hair. Or my ponytail anyway. And so that, as far as keeping you warm, coming down, it's got ear flaps. You can just cozy yourself into it. It's got a stiffened peak, and you can go out in any weather wearing that and feel lovely and protected. So yeah, the mountain cap, iconic headgear of the mountains, without a doubt.
I'm just too amused. I know, I'm too amused by that. I'm sorry, I don't have anything further to add. Lost it. Brilliant. So that was Outdoor Gear Chat episode 29, hats or fascinators, as that'll go down in history of my mirth anyway. So I've been Wayne. Thanks for joining us this time.
And I've been Cathy. You can find our huge collection of hats online at www.climbers-shop.com, and you can also find a lot of information on how to keep yourself warm in the outdoors on our sister website, the Joe Brown Outdoor Academy, which is full of information of advice and knowledge, and where to go to find local instructors as well. So the website for that is www.joebrownoutdooracademy.com.